Hi everyone, Janelle here. I'm a functional nutritionist and doctor of natural medicine. This is my podcast where we talk about midlife wellness in the mountains. I loved this week's talk with herbalist and apothecary owner Rebecca Luna. Herbs are an incredibly effective tool to support the nervous system and bring ease into the body. This is an important topic at midlife as we are more sensitive to stress and fluctuating hormones create more stress on our body. Rebecca gives us her favorite herbs to relieve stress, explains how to use them, and speaks into the brilliance and power of herbal medicine. You are going to love this discussion, and I hope you feel good about getting out and playing more with herbs.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, Rebecca. So I fell in love with your shop, and I took so many of the herbal workshops there back when my husband was in med school in Boulder. And when we were living there, that was like 20 years ago, which I think is around the time that Rebecca's Apothecary started. But I still visit there, like one of the first things I do when I go to Boulder. So thank you so much for your shop, and thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're so welcome, and thank you for those kind words. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean it. It's a special shop, so thank you. So I work predominantly with midlife women, and stress is a real issue for a few different reasons. First, obviously, life can be pretty stressful at midlife with teen kids. Maybe people are paying for college, maybe taking care of their parents who are getting older. Also, with changing hormones, we become more sensitive to stress and cortisol and just all the regular stressors we shoulder, which is often a lot as women. And then finally, progesterone decreases, which creates often a lot of anxiety and sleep issues for women. So stress is already an issue in our modern world, but I see it becoming more of an issue in midlife. And that's what we're here to chat about. So just to start, do you find many women coming in and asking for support around stress with herbs to your shop?
You really hit it here. This is absolutely our demographic. There's a lot of women in midlife coming into the shop, and that's exactly where I am personally. And yes, this is, I think, not only what you spoke to about what's happening in our bodies at this stage of life can help or not help, but increases stress, but also just our lives in general are more stressful than are just very stressful. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just so far from the pace we evolved to function at. I think that is stressful in and of itself. So let's get into it. What are some of your favorite herbal remedies, Rebecca, for helping women with stress? And you can specify any reasons you might use it or anything like that. But what are
Yeah.
some of your favorites?
Well, it's funny. I was getting ready and so looking forward to this podcast with you today. And I was like, what would be a great herb to drink at the podcast? So today I am drinking lemon balm, which is delicious. It's just delicious. And one of the things I love about lemon balm is that it can help calm me. It's a great one for nighttime, but it's also one that's totally appropriate during the day. So often these plants that we speak about that are nervines or help our nervous system, people are worried to drink them in the middle of the day because they don't want to get too sleepy. But this is a beautiful one and it's delicious and it's considered a great uplifter. For me, lemon balm lightens the mood. I think that's the attitude I have with this. And this is one that here in Colorado grows everywhere. You would never have to plant lemon balm. It's just going to be all over the place.
I didn't know that about it being all over the place. I grow it in my backyard, but I didn't know that. I call lemon balm a warm hug. I think that's what I call that herb. I do think all midlife women could do well with lemon balm.
Yes. And I love that it's delicious and it's accessible. It's a mint, but like a light lemony mint. Honestly, just wafting your hands over the living plant on those leaves and just that from and center. And I think these sorts of simple things, I don't want to overlook them. I think they are so profound. And when we talk about stress and that sort of thing, what are the things that we can do with plants that don't even require boiling water? just having lemon balm growing and being able to do that with your hands is amazing. And I love the joy it brings to people when you get to show them that the first time. Oh, let's do this with this plant. It's really neat.
I honestly felt relaxed just picturing that. Even just imagining grabbing that plant and smelling it made me like, it just made me sigh. And I do feel like working with herbs, there's such an awesome medicinal value to herbs, the actual chemicals in them. But I do think there is something more to herbs. I love just being with my jars and opening them and scooping them and smelling them. I do think you're right. There's different levels that they help us feel better and reduce stress. And the tangible part of it is really nice because so much of our modern world, we're in our brains, on our screens. So I think you're right. I think that's a really nice and important point. Just that connection can be really helpful and help de-stress. Besides that, besides grabbing the lemon balm and smelling it, how else could people use lemon balm?
Thank you for asking. It's a great herb in teas. That's one of the ways that I predominantly like to use it. And also because when you make a plant into a tea, you're accessing the vitamins and minerals in that plant as well. So the water as an extractor is really great at extracting the vitamins and minerals, which brings us back to using herbs as food. And I think nurturing and nourishing ourselves, this is foundational for our stress. So for me, I would use 1 tablespoon of dried lemon balm, which you could dry yourself or any herb shop, or if you don't have an herb shop locally, you can always order online. It's an accessible one. It's one that you would want to use in the year that it was harvested, because I find that these plants that are so accessible, that are all over the place, want to be used quickly. I've never watered my lemon balm. I've never had to. It just grows. Well, then that wants to be used quickly and abundantly, and then it sort of loses its vitality a little more quickly.
And then what do you think about using that in a tincture form?
I think it could be lovely in a tincture, especially for sleep and that sort of thing, or if you just want to have it quick and easy to use. I think it really just lends itself lovely as a glycerite.
Mm.
So a glycerite was same concept as a tincture, but we're using glycerin predominantly to extract rather than alcohol. Most tinctures are in alcohol, and water is what's extracting. And most glycerins actually do have a little touch of alcohol in them. Not all. Some are just pure glycerin and water. But it feels like I'm just going for the personality of this plant, and I think it would really like that sort of gentle extraction.
Okay.
And talking about lemon balm, I had a note here. Anne McIntyre is one of my favorite herbal authors, and she was writing about lemon balm, that it influences your limbic system, which is concerned with your moods and temperament. And I just thought that was really cool, that it really specifically affects that.
Yeah, any way we can calm our nervous system as midlife women is incredible. We need to use all those opportunities we can. And how great to have a delicious, easy cup of herbal tea to help us do that. It seems like a no-brainer to me.
Well, and it is interesting. We consider it this uplifter, and it literally goes into that limbic system and does that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Anything else you want to say about lemon balm before we move on?
I think it's also a really great one for kids.
How would you use it for kids?
I think teas for kids, because it's delicious and accessible. And so that's, if you are feeling stress and anxiety and you have kids in your life, they're going to pick up on how you're feeling. So it's one that the whole family can share really beautifully.
I love that. That's great. Okay. What about another one? What's another one of your favorite herbs for stress?
One of my all-time favorite plants in the whole world, probably my biggest ally, is chamomile. And I think that sometimes it's overlooked because it's so simple and it's so accessible. but I love its accessibility. I love that I think anywhere in the US, any grocery store, most places you'll be able to find chamomile tea. It's not so out there. It's not hard to find, which I think is fabulous. But for me, chamomile, so another one really great in tea form. And one thing I love about brewing chamomile is for me, it's more like a teaspoon to a table. Most of these herbs are like a tablespoon per cup of water, but the chamomile, you could go a little less. And also, it's a shorter steeping time. So within 5 to 10 minutes, you have a very strong medicinal tea. Whereas something like lemon balm, I'd want a minimum of 15 minutes for it brewing. But chamomile, really, it is full of volatile oils, and so it just gives of itself so quickly. And it's anti-inflammatory, which inflammation is a side effect of these stresses bring you like this. I just find it when you're okay. So when you brew chamomile, it is nice to brew it lidded, closed, so you're holding in those volatile oils. But that being said, there's something about just having your face over that cup of tea and breathing in that chamomile steam. It just, sometimes it can take your shoulders or up to your ears, and they literally just, this feels like a real grandmother plant to me. It's just, and it is wonderful at night. I love this after meals because it does have that bitterness, so it can help you digest. It's a great digestive herb. I tend to drink this one more later in the second half of the day. I'm not apt to drink it in the middle of the day. But if I had a bellyache, people whose stress and anxiety goes towards, because people react differently, right, to stress. Some people it goes to their lungs, other people it goes to their digestive system. This is, I think, the one of the top herbs if that stress goes to your digestion.
I love what you're saying, Rebecca, because one reason I love herbs is because they have multi impacts on our body, or they impact our body in different ways. It's not like a medicine that it's like this one thing does this one thing. Like herbs are just brilliant in how our body just accepts them and absorbs them and can use them for so many different things, like the bitter effect also. That's just beautiful. It's just that there's more than one benefit of each of these herbs. And I think that's just such a wonderful quality of plants. And I also love what you're saying about chamomile being kind of ordinary, but that's a great thing. And I think people today want that shiny new magic thing. And what about those things that we know that are amazing and wonderful and that our grandmas used? And we don't have to go searching much farther. Like a cup of chamomile tea a day, I think the world would be a better place if we all did that.
I agree with you 100%. I just actually goosebumped as you said that. It makes me feel quite emotional, actually.
Yeah.
This is another one that's easy to grow. It's a little more labor intensive for harvesting, but I use a berry picker. I don't know if it's like and I just sort of scoop the flowers off like that, or I could do it with my hands. But it's so lovely having the blossoms drying in baskets and just that wafting smell of those. I want to say this one too, bathing in a chamomile tea is fabulous. And this is so effective. It's so tremendously effective to really, so you're using that act of a bath to come down. But if you and in that instance, I would do a strong chamomile tea. Do a good, I like to say, a good Italian handful of the blossoms to water and steep it as long as you want because you're not drinking it. You're not worried about the bitterness. And then you take that canning jar full of tea or pot or whatever and just strain the tea into the bath before you put in the bath water, because you always put the tea in first and then put it in the bath water to get it to the temperature that is safe and comfortable for you. And then just bathe in those flowers. I know we're talking about women in midlife, but a story of once when my son was just a wee little guy. He must have been 2 or 3. Very irritated. He was sick. He was not feeling well. I made him a chamomile bath. I put him in the bath. And I know you're not supposed to leave little ones in the tub alone, but I needed a towel. So I just left just for a minute to go get a towel. And when I came back, he was completely asleep, just with his nose and mouth out of the water. Just
So relaxed. I can just smell it and imagine it in a lovely bath of warm chamomile tea. That's a great recommendation, Rebecca, and one that probably people don't think about.
just bathing in. Also, this is one where you could make a tea of chamomile and put a cloth into that tea. And then just as long as that temperature of that water is to whatever is comfortable for your skin, then just lay that cloth over your face, lay it over your eyes. If you're not puffy, if you've been that's called a compress when you use the tea and put a cloth in tea and then apply that to your skin. That is fabulous. So maybe I'm too stressed to get into the bath, but I could just have this over my face.
I can even just smell that sweet chamomile and it's warm on your forehead. That's a great tip for relaxing. And that wouldn't take that long. You could do that in 10 minutes.
You have a cup of tea to drink and then you've made extra that you put your cloth in. I love pairing chamomile with lavender, which is another great nervine that we can talk about. A tea of chamomile and lavender before bed at night is fabulous. The thing you want to think about is it's like for a tablespoon of chamomile, you just do a little pinch of lavender. The proportion is more chamomile to lavender. A little bit of lavender can be wonderfully relaxing, just wonderfully relaxing. A lot of lavender can be stimulating.
Interesting. And I love about lavender is when you even say lavender, I picture that beautiful color. I can smell the lavender and then the tea. Again, it's like this multi-systems, just everything is, yes.
Yeah.
So that's a great tip and really good to know about the proportions of chamomile to lavender.
I do that with lavender with everything. I just use the little pinch of it if I'm drinking it, but also a chamomile lavender bath, which is also, it's one I recommend quite often. So for drinking it at nighttime and then also bathing in it, same proportions there.
Okay. With the pinch to the larger bit of chamomile. Got it. Great. I have a question for you about an herb that I love. What do you think about catnip?
Oh, I love catnip. Catnip is fabulous. What a great question. I didn't know about catnip. Yeah.
Yeah, I just love it. And I think people are always surprised when I suggest it because they think what makes cats crazy, it's going to make us crazy. But I find it to be really calming. It's
fabulously calming to humans. Yes, it's a great one. That one would pair beautifully with the lemon balm. Well, they grow next to each other all the time. I love watching the birds come after they've gone to seed and eat the little seeds off the catnip and lemon balm together. But so I think often when plants grow near each other, they tend to pair really beautifully taste-wise when you drink them. But that's a fabulous one as a tea. It's very relaxing. It can absolutely help you sleep. And so we were talking about ones that are good when you're stressful for digestive health. This is one that has great affinity for lung health, also in the mint family. So can again be helpful for digestion, but I find that it has a real affinity for lungs. So if you're stressed and have to breathe, that could be a lovely one. You're having shortness of breath at nighttime. Yeah.
That's multi-benefits again. And I also find like that one, it's not too sedative though, right? You can have that one during the day, like lemon balm, right? And that's not going to knock you out.
Yeah. But that being said, it can be helpful to help you sleep at night. Yes, it's one I wouldn't have paused drinking in the middle of the day at all. Yeah. Should have had it with my lemon balm. Yeah.
It's funny because in my yard, I have lemon balm, catnip, and lavender. Those are like my 3 favorite herbs. So how funny, right? It's so much wonderfulness. Okay, so what about another herb? Do you have any recommendations for other herbs that would be a little bit more sedating, like a little bit more just in the evening to really calm down and sink into that parasympathetic nervous system?
Oh, there's one I think of, there's a couple. So as I have gone through menopause, what a big ally that I have found has been hops.
Mm.
Hops can be very sedating. And I think, and it's not something I had seen it written about, but I think it's a brilliant match for women I'm in my mid 50s, like in this stage of life. But as we know, we all hit menopause at different stages, and that's awesome. It's like puberty. It's my second puberty. But hops is quite estrogenic. And I found it to be just this beautiful ally. Now it is bitter.
Mhm.
I just don't care because it helps me sleep.
Mhm.
Really helps me fall asleep and stay asleep. So if you're looking for there's a blend that we have. It's not like a ready-made blend, but we have a recipe for it on file here, and we call it the Sailor's Tea. I came up, or actually, a former friend or a friend of mine came up with that title because he said it had put a sailor out because it's with hops and California poppy. Oat straw would be a good one for us to talk about too, and chamomile. But hops is bitter, yes, and I just think that it is a fabulous ally for this stage of life.
That's a great recommendation. I'm going to add that one to my repertoire for sure. I'm going to start adding in hops because, again, I love those other benefits. That's a great point about it being estrogenic. So, not only is it good for your nervous system, it's good because we're so low in estrogen in menopause. And then also, I love bitters. I love encouraging women to explore more bitters because also I find that it helps. It's like kind of opposite of sweet. And like as our glucose and our response to glucose changes because of decreased estrogen, most women are trying to have less sweets. And I find that the more bitters we expose ourselves to, we eventually crave less sweets. And at first, if we eat a lot of sweets, then bitters are like, ugh. But then as we shifted the ratio a little bit, we get more and more comfortable with bitters. So again, like so many wonderful benefits for just one plant. So that's so cool. But will you pause and can you just define what an ally means, just in case people don't understand what that means?
Thank you for asking. So an ally is it's so funny when you spend all your time with herbalists, you have these terms that you use and you just forget that's not a common term. So an ally, plant ally, is very much like a friend who is an ally to you. A plant ally is a plant that is greatly supportive to you, that you have developed a relationship with. So the way you've been speaking about catnip and lemon balm, like those seem like those are plant allies for you because you've developed a relationship and because you have continually found them to be supportive. That's
Thank you. That was
perfect.
great.
What I
Yeah,
would
thank you.
yeah.
Yeah. And I find that people are often intimidated to get into herbs for some reason. Like they'll just say, oh, I'll just buy the tea bags, or which is great if that's what you can do. But I love encouraging people to just experiment because I think you have to experiment to find your ally, right? You have to get in there and try things and see what works. So, do you have anything to say about that or about people that might be a little intimidated to work with herbs?
I am so thrilled that you asked this question because it feels like one of the reasons I was put in this job. Plants, herbal medicine is your birthright. It is absolutely everyone's birthright. And what I would like to say is that I've been an herbalist now for over 30 years. And one of the biggest truisms that I find is that the simpler the remedy, the more profound it is.
Mm.
This should be simple and accessible. And here's the other thing is I would much rather know 3 herbs very well than 100 not so well. It's like, how many do you want? 50 acquaintances or do you want 3 good friends? 3 solid friends. It's amazing. And I love that you keep going back to, oh, wow, there's these different uses for the same plant. It speaks to the fact that you can never learn everything about one plant. You can never know anything about a good friend. But so much of our job here, I see, is to make this fun and accessible. And I'd like to speak in the positive. I'm going to break my rule here a little bit. Anyone who tries to tell you that this is a special medicine that you have to, I am very weary of anyone who makes this inaccessible. This is 70%. This is the predominant form of medicine for like 70% of the world. This is kitchen medicine. This is empowerment. This is, yeah, I could keep going. I will.
Yeah, I think that's such an important message. I think that is just a message that people need to hear. And I think it's great that you're saying that. I saw this thing, I think it was actually this morning that I saw it. It said, herbalism is not alternative medicine, it's the OG. Like, it
Yes.
is what people have done and what animals use. It's not alternative, it's not freaky. It is what our bodies have been used to exploring and absorbing and understanding for thousands of years. So I think that message is really important.
Well, and I like to think of it as cooking.
Yeah, you called yourself before we started recording a kitchen herbalist. So yeah, talk about that.
It is very, I mean, I'm just so pleased that it's so lovely to speak with you.
I agree. You too.
I'm so pleased that we're all in this bed because it is like some of the absolute best meals that I have are the simplest. I made a meal last night. I think there was 3 ingredients in it. I had a protein and I had a, a veggie and I had some garlic. Just one. I think it was so good. I need rosemary, which is another good. But yes, herbs should be accessible. It's if you think about it, like cooking simple meals are delicious and effective and enjoying. Like if you enjoy something, then it's easier to do. That simple cup of making a cup of tea. It doesn't so fancy.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be so serious.
No. Yes.
Playful is good. And just jumping in and going for it is awesome. So you also, we don't have too much more time, but you mentioned oat straw is another one that you really like. Are there any other that you want to mention before we wrap up?
Yeah, oat straw is great. Well, I was thinking about, so some of my main ones, like 5 top ones, would be lemon balm, chamomile, oat straw, which is the same plant that oatmeal comes from. The straw is the aerial parts. Then there's also the milky oat tops are really great for the oats. I love linden, the tree, the linden tree. The leaves of that is fabulous for tension and anxiety, especially if you hold it in your head. And I'm quoting from Anne McIntyre here, but a linden tree grows slow and steady for centuries. I feel that it gives me that kind of resilience to deal with things. Like I am drinking tree energy right now, and it helps me with tension and anxiety and headaches, and it's wonderful for heart health, which jumps into another one that I love, which is hawthorn. Hawthorn and linden really work synergistically very beautifully together. But hawthorn is well known for its uses for heart health, but it's another one that I think is fabulous for grief, like deep sadness. This is one that just is very protective for us. And it's in this stage of life, I think women are sometimes, you're so cranky. I think we've developed some boundaries at this point. And our society doesn't want to see women having strong boundaries. And hawthorn has got the world to give you, but it has some thorns. And that plant knows its boundaries. And I think that it's energetically a really good one for us to work with and very helpful for us.
I love that. That's both of those, linden and hawthorn, were really nice visuals. And I often laugh that estrogen is our people-pleasing hormone. And as we lose that, we get those boundaries really clear and we're not so worried about making people upset by placing our boundaries. So I love the visual of the hawthorn with the thorns a little bit, holding its ground and being strong. So that's great. I love that you shared those 5. And I'm definitely going to try hops. I'm going to try linden and I'm going to add some hawthorn. So I'm really excited to jump in. And maybe if anyone wants, they could just choose one of these and get the dried herb and see what happens. Smell it and have a tea and maybe make themselves a bath. You've given so many great tips and so much wisdom. Is there anything you want to share before we wrap up?
But real quick, just want to say you can bathe in linden too.
Okay.
I
That was
just,
the slow and steady tree.
yes. No, I just feel so excited to have this time to talk with you. Thank you for asking me. And I love when plant knowledge gets spread. So that's fabulous.
Yeah, it's been such an honor to have you, Rebecca. Thank you so much. And if people want to find your apothecary and they want to find your herbs, how can they do that?
We're in downtown Boulder, Colorado. So we have a brick and mortar store that just had its 20-year anniversary here.
Happy birthday.
And then, but we're also online, and that's at rebeccasherbs.com. Just one word, no apostrophe, rebeccasherbs.com.
Okay, and I can speak from experience. It's definitely worth stopping into the store if you're there. You will feel like a better person when you walk in the door. It feels so good. And you also mail beautiful packages to people. So I'm in full support of people finding you and trying all of your wonderful herbs and remedies. So thank you, Rebecca, so much for being here.
Well, you're so welcome. You make my cheeks hurt from grinning.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Right.
That's it for this week. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a comment and a review, as that helps it reach more people. You can find me and the courses I teach, the Midlife Hormone Club and the Energy Club, online at Mountain Rebalance. I help midlife women understand their body and age better. If that sounds like you, please join my newsletter. And if there's a topic you'd like me to cover here or an expert you want me to have on, let me know. In the meantime, keep playing, and here's to aging our best.